And now look at this question. With reference to 8th August 1942, 2021, that particular date was asked in Indian history, which one of the following statement is correct? The Quit India resolution was adopted by the All India Congress Committee. Viceroy's Executive Council was expanded to include more Indians. The Congress ministers resigned in 7 provinces. Again, look at this. This was also a question. Why Congress ministers resigned in 7 provinces? Cripps proposed an Indian union with full dominant status. Again, this was also a question. Once the Second World War is over. This statement was also question. This statement was also question. We know the answer is A. Because 8th August 1942, the resolution was given was what? That is Quit India resolution. Quit India resolution. And now Quit India movement will come to. All leaders were arrested because Britishers knew that every Indian is going to participate because the deepening up of national movement was happening, and they knew that if leaders are there, they are going to organize with Swadeshi and boycott and passive resistance, and that is the reason all leaders were arrested, taken to unknown destination, and the movement became leaderless. And finally, people had spontaneous response, because in national non-cooperation movement, in civil disobedience movement, people were organized to do certain activities. But right now there are no leaders. The movement is leaderless. A spontaneous response that led to a lot of violence, attacking Britishers, killing even British officials also by common people. Okay, so blowing up railway bridges, attacking British symbols, then again their buildings also. Events that attack and vandalize government officers and symbols, cut telegraph lines, and then again destroy railway bridges, destroy roads also. Okay, because all of them are symbolize the British, all of them, and hoisting flags of India, flags of tricolor on government buildings, the killing officers and Europeans, even Europeans also, and forcefully hoisting flag, because Britishers had banned hoisting flag. Now the violence meet violence. So that is the power of non-violence. Even the non-violent protesters are attacked by the government, the sympathy lies with the victims and the criticism goes to the attacker. But here, now the people are responding in violence, and now the government has every right to respond with law and order. To protect the law and order, they can respond with violence. So severe repression, machine guns were used, firing and machine guns on people. Okay, so because of that one, people lost vigor and I was scared to come to the open, because they had to face not lathis, but rather they have to face machine guns. Okay, that is the reason movement went underground. The secret activity started. So one of the features of Quit India movement is underground movement. Okay, that's mass participation is not possible, and that is the reason leaders are organizing certain activities secretly. So what is underground movement? That is again Achyut Patwardhan, some of the leaders, Aruna Asaf Ali, Ram Manohar Lohia, Sucheta Kruplani. Okay, and then again J.P. Narayan. Then again we can talk about Usha Mehta. She ran Congress radio in Bombay secretly for many months without detection. Okay, these are leaders of underground movement: Achyut Patwardhan, Aruna Asaf Ali, Ram Manohar Lohia, Sucheta Kruplani, J.P. Narayan and Usha Mehta. Again this question was asked, I guess, 2011. With reference to Indian freedom struggle, Usha Mehta is known for running the secret Congress radio in the wake of Quit India movement. Participating in second round table conference, we discussed leading a contingent of Indian National Army. We'll come to that one, because Indian National Army question was asked later. We'll come to that one. Assisting the formation of interim government under Pandit Jawaharlal Nehru. Okay, no, answer is A, because secret Congress radio in the wake of Quit India movement. That is Usha Mehta. Okay. I think one more question was asked with respect to which of the following statement was not correct with respect to Quit India movement. It was non-violent, it was spontaneous, led by Gandhiji. Labor class did not participate. So it's kind of one question was also asked again in 2012, I guess. So please go and check that question also. So activities of underground movement, same. That is disrupt communication, blow up bridges, they can derail trains, attack officials. Okay, so everybody will be attacked. So that is again a kind of a violence movement too. Kind of a violence movement, but secretly. In 1943, what happened? 3 members of Viceroy Security Council resigned. Why they resigned? Because Gandhiji was going fast unto death. Okay, so asking release of Gandhiji, who was fasting, against the violence atmosphere. Against the violence atmosphere. And who are his 3 members? And that is H.P. Modi, N.R. Sarkar, as well as M.S. Ani. So 3 Viceroy Executive Council members, they were resigned. And other features of Quit India movement is parallel governments. So people started establishing their simultaneous government, their own parallel governments at the local level. Like in Balia, in Uttar Pradesh, Chittu Pandey established one government in August 1942. Then again, Tamluk in Bengal, called as Jatiya Sarkar, December 1942 to 1944, this government was in existence. Then again in Maharashtra, Satara, Y.B. Chavan and Nana Patil, called as Prati Sarkar, in mid 1943 to 1945. and they were giving services to people, these governments. Okay, flood reliefs. Okay, during that point of time, some floods happen in certain areas. Okay, and they were addressing the grievances of people. Okay, because they are providing alternative government, which can be called as the parallel government, because the British government was broke down, because everywhere people was up in arms against Britishers. So one parallel government was there in Sholapur. Okay, and that is during civil disobedience movement. That is during civil disobedience movement. Okay, and no support to Quit India movement by communists who want to support Britain and Russia against the Nazis, because communists, their sympathy was with Russia, because Nazis had attacked Russia. So Russia was in support of Britain, and that is the reason communists supported Britain. They did not give support to Quit India movement. Then communist section, the Muslim League feared if British left India, minorities will be oppressed by the majority, so they did not give support. And then again, Hindu Mahasabha boycotted the movement, like I already mentioned about that one. Okay, and even certain sections of certain other communalist leaders, they also gave support to Britishers. Now, entire India was up in arms, but these certain sections, they were supporting Britishers. Okay, or rather boycott, kind of a cold neutral. Now, release of leaders happened by 1944-1945, because war was ending. It was inevitable for allies to win, because they had new kind of weapons, like nuclear weapons. We can talk about bombing of Hiroshima and Nagasaki, and then again Hitler committed suicide. And now British economy had been shattered because of Second World War. Now they want to negotiate a transfer of power, and for negotiation and transfer of power, all the leaders who got arrested in 1942 now being released in 45-44. As the war was nearing end, for transfer of power negotiation began. Okay, transfer of power negotiation. And now post-war national upsurge. That is, post-war means we are talking about what happened after 1945. It is a post-war national upsurge. Okay, post-war means Second World War. That is prelude to INA. We have to talk about INA movement over here. One question was asked about INA. In 1942, there was a conference of Indians in Tokyo, that is in Japan, and that is, they formed one organization called as Indian Independence League, with the help of, we can say, Raspberry Bose, because Raspberry Bose went to Japan. We talked about when the revolution failed in 1915 with the help of Gathers, that did not fructify, later went to Japan, and these are leaders who are organizing conferences. Then one more conference in Bangkok in June 1942. Raspberry Bose elected as the president of Indian Independence League, and there the decision was taken to raise an Indian National Army, and this Indian National Army will be composed of prisoners of war of India or British India still captured by Japan. So they want to take the help of Japan to raise an Indian army to invade India, okay, and to free India from the clutches of the Britishers. Okay, that is to raise the Indian National Army. That is the background for INA. Now, Indian National Army, Azad Hind Fauj, August or September 1952, different dates have been presented, and collaboration of the Indian soldiers, expatriates who were there already, they're Indians, and prisoners of war also, and women members were also there, and help from Japan, because Japan wanted to utilize Indians to defeat Britishers in India itself. And Mohan Singh was the commander, and he was arrested by Japanese later, because Mohan Singh was against Japanese treatment of Indians, because Japanese were treating Indians in a lowly manner, in a menial manner. Because Japan wanted to utilize Indians for its selfish goals, because Japan was also an fascist power during that point of time, and they committed a lot of atrocities in Korea as well as in China during that point of time. So that is the reason people, you must have talked about you must have seen in newspapers, that is, Japan wants to forget its war past. Okay, so it was not great. Okay, so Mohan Singh, so he resisted, or he was against the Japanese treatment of Indians. That is the reason he was arrested. And later Raspberry Bose looking after Indian National Army, and later he handed it over to Subhas Chandra Bose. Subhas Chandra Bose, he was in India. We'll talk about Subhas Chandra Bose separately. And then he went to Afghanistan, later to Soviet Union, later to Germany, then he came to Indonesia, then he came to Singapore, and then again we came to Japan also. Now Indian National Army was taken over by Subhas Chandra Bose, and this Indian National Army was revived by Netaji Subhas Chandra Bose in July-October 1943, because it was established way back in 1942. And the motto of this particular organization is, that is, unity, faith and sacrifice, which translates into Ittefaq, Itmad, and then again Qurbani. Qurbani means sacrifice. And now provincial government was established in October 21, 1943, the provincial government of Free India. Okay, at Singapore it was established, and again the finance portfolio was held by S.C. Chatterjee, and the Prime Minister of this particular government was declared as Subhas Chandra Bose. Then again, Women Minister was also there, and again, Broadcasting Minister was M.A. Iyer, and Women Department was headed by Lakshmi Swaminathan. Okay, this is the founders. Provisional Government of India, recognized by Japan, recognized by Germany and Italy. Okay, so because INA and Subhas Chandra Bose had already met Hitler, okay, to take their help to free India from the clutches of British. So enemy is enemy, my friend. That is a very simple formula with which Indian leader was working with. Then headquarters were shifted to Rangoon in January 1944. This provisional governments as well as INA's headquarters. Okay, and the army recruits were to march to India with the cry that is Chalo Delhi. Delhi Chalo movement was individual satyagraha. This Chalo Delhi was a war cry of Indian National Army. Okay, and then regiments were named after Gandhi, Nehru, Maulana Azad and Subhash Chandra Bose. Indian National Army, and one women regiment was also there, that is named after Rani Jhansi. Women regiment after Rani Jhansi. Okay, so people say that is so different things about the relationship between Gandhiji, Nehru and Subhash, but they had great respect for each other, and INA army had regiments named after Gandhi, Nehru, Azad as well as Subhash. Okay, so Battle of Imphal, that is one invasion of INA with the help of Japanese soldiers, happened in March-July 1944, and INA and Japan versus British Indian Army, and tricolor was hoisted at Moirang in Manipur. Okay, but heavy rains and due to Japan's reverses in the Second World War, and that halted the INA's march towards India to free India from the British clutches, and retreated to Burma. They had to go back to Burma because monsoons were quite heavy. Early monsoons were quite heavy, and then again Japan reverses halted in INA. Japan reverses in Second World War stopped it from giving any support to INA. So that is the reason INA had to retreat to Burma, because that was their headquarters was there in Rangoon. And that is about INA. And now if we will talk about Subhash Chandra Bose. Last time we talked about Subhash Chandra Bose, that is about 1939 session. That is Tripuri session. Some conflict happened with Patabi Sitaramaya. Subhash Chandra Bose resigned, then Rajendra Prasad took over. So Subhash Chandra Bose, why he resigned is that one, he did not want to hurt Gandhiji. So Subhash Chandra Bose, so he wanted to take advantage of Second World War in 1939. He wanted to launch mass movement, but Gandhiji, he was against mass movement at that point of time because of communal tendencies, because of corrupt tendencies in the Indian National Congress. So he wanted to strengthen it, and he wanted to support democratic forces, that is Britain, against fascism. But Subhash Chandra Bose wanted to take the help of fascists against not against democracy, but against British colonialism, against British imperialism. So that is a major debate. And then he called for mass movement, and that is when he was expelled out of Indian National Congress. Okay, and then he formed his own party that is within the National Congress, that is called as Forward Bloc. That was launched. Okay. Later, what happened to Subhash Chandra Bose? Forward Bloc established in June 1939 as a faction within the ANC. And organized protest in Calcutta and jailed. Okay. Then later he was house arrested because his health was deteriorating. Put under house arrest by Britishers in 1940, and January 1941 escaped to Afghanistan first, then again Soviet Union, because he wanted to take the help of Soviet Union against British, because Soviet Union had ideological conflict with Britishers. Britishers were capitalism and imperialists, and Soviet Union was socialist or communist, we can say, who was against capitalism, who were against imperialism. And that is the reason I want to take Soviet Union help. But what happened? Nazis, that is Hitler Germany, they invaded Soviet Union. Soviet Union went into and became ally of Britishers as well as USA. So that is the reason Subhash Chandra Bose went to Nazis. Subhash Chandra Bose went to Germany. In 1941, he reached Berlin, that is Germany, and then again founded the Free India Center in Berlin, November 1941. Then again, and created the Indian Legion, and this Indian Legion soldiers gave him the title Netaji. In January 1942, he started broadcasting from German-sponsored radio called as Azad Hind Radio. Then he started one newspaper and one magazine also, and asked Indians to support Gandhiji in Quit India movement in August 1942. Okay, so people say that when they were not liking each other, all these kind of things. Okay, so made up things. But from the broadcasting, radio that he asked all the Indians to support Gandhiji in Quit India movement. Okay, so Azad Hind magazine was started in March 1942. There is a chronology of Subhas Chandra Bose we can talk about. Okay, and then again 31st August 1942 radio address to communalist leaders like Jinnah and V.D. Savarkar, who were supporting Britishers. Both of them were supporting Britishers. Okay, so in Quit India movement, and he gave this particular speech to both these particular individuals, Jinnah and Savarkar. So what is the speech he gave? That is, realize that in the world of tomorrow, that there will be no British Empire, and you are siding with the British Empire. That British Empire will not be there tomorrow. Okay, so support Indians, support the Quit India movement, but they were giving support to Britishers. Okay, realize that in the world of tomorrow, that there will be no British Empire, and that happened because British Empire crumbled after Second World War. And he last met Gandhiji in 1940. Okay, and he himself written in his own book, The Indian Struggle, Gandhiji had acknowledged Bose's, Subhas Chandra Bose's efforts towards freedom, because that is written by Bose himself in his book, The Indian Struggle. That is written by Bose himself, because Gandhiji acknowledged that one, that is, if India achieves independence through the ways of Subhas Chandra Bose, Gandhiji will be the first person to give appreciation to Subhas Chandra Bose, and that is that is written by Subhas Chandra Bose himself in his book, The Indian Struggle. So that is should be done and dusted about all the rumors about these two great individuals. Again, Subhas Chandra Bose in February 1943 left for Japan via submarine. Okay. Then at the same time reached Indonesia, and later from there he went to Tokyo in May 1943. Then he took over INA. Okay, Japanese gave him Andaman Nicobar Islands and established government in December 1943, and tricolor was also hoisted at Port Blair. Okay, and on July 6, 1944, in a speech from Singapore, he gave that famous speech, that is the Father of the Nation speech, that he gave the speech, that is India's holy war of independence had begun, Father of the Nation, that is addressing Gandhiji, we seek your blessing. So he is the first person to call Gandhiji as Father of the Nation, and of course that is carried forward. And today also we recognize Mahatma Gandhiji as Father of the Nation, and what Gandhiji has given title to Subhas Chandra Bose, the patriot among patriots. Different connotations are used, different meanings are used, but all of them are meaning the same. That is, no one can beat Subhas Chandra Bose in his patriotism. That is Prince of Patriot, or we can say a King of Patriots, or Patriot among Patriots, and Gandhiji gave it in 1943. Okay, and July 6, 1944, in a speech of Singapore, so he called Mahatma Gandhiji as Father of the Nation. But unfortunately, he died in a plane crash in Taiwan in 18th August 1945. Okay, so this is about Subhas Chandra Bose in Indian national movement. Then INA trials happened because INA got defeated. That we talked about Manipur, that is tried to invade, but they got defeated. Japan also got defeated. They were brought to India as traitors. INA soldiers captured, brought to India as traitors by British Indian government, or the British government. Okay, so by the British government. Okay. So this is called as INA trials, happened in November 1945 to May 1946. It's also called Red Fort trials. The three Red Fort trials are there. The first Red Fort trial we can talk about Bahadur Shah Zafar after 1857. The second Red Fort trial, that's INA trials. And the third Red Fort trial about Gandhiji's assassination, after Gandhiji's assassination. Okay, then joint trial of three persons we can talk about: Shah Nawaz Khan, then Prem Sehgal, and Gurbaksh Singh Dhillon, representing three religions of India, showing the unity of India. Okay, then again there was a popular pressure on British government to release the INA soldiers, because Britishers are treating these INA soldiers as what? Traitors. But what Indians told Britishers, that is, they are not traitors, they are fighting for their country against imperialism and colonialism. So you cannot treat them as traitors. And to give relief to INA soldiers, because there are thousands of soldiers were there, thousands of soldiers, now INC organized a defense committee to give them finance support, to raise funds for them, and to give them legal support. As well as defense of INA in the trials, as well as to relief for the troops. And who are the members of this defense committee? Bhulabhai Desai, Asaf Ali, Tej Bahadur Shapru. Okay, then again Kailash Nath Kadju, Jawaharlal Nehru, Subhas Chandra Bose, then again Shiv Kumar Shastri, Ranbir Chand Soni. Okay, so many people. Okay, so then again Rajendra Narayan, and lastly we talk about Sultan Yar Khan. So all of them gave support to these INA soldiers, defended them, claiming that they are real patriots who fought for their country, not against the country. You cannot treat them as traitors. And release all of them. Britishers had to release them because of a lot of public pressure. And that is the post-war movement we talk about. So now Britishers are understanding that we no longer can remain in India. Because Indian support is waning away. Because Britishers could able to remain in India because of Indian support. So now the Indian support is waning away.